The Mafia 1 remake is said to be one of the biggest game release yet of the year, and also from the Mafia franchise, as it rebuilds all the mechanics, the world, the vehicles, the characters, and just about everything else from the ground up. It has been 18 years since the original release of the game, and as a result, this remake is said to be a major improvement from it. As of right now, I think most of you have seen the first Mafia 1 remake gameplay that released just a couple of days ago, and if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry I haven't covered it on the channel. Some of you might have seen I had planned a livestream reaction to the extended gameplay demo, but ended up cancelling it because for some reason it ended up being shared in the middle of the night, so it killed my vibe just a bit. But either way the gameplay released, I watched it and I loved it, and I can say I have a lot of hope in this remake. The main complaint about the game though, which is almost literally every comment on the gameplay video, is that Tommy, the main character who has been mainly a cab driver in his past life, is acting like a true killing machine. The narrator says word for word that he isn't a trained soldier, while at the same time in the gameplay video is taking on a ton of people like it's a normal day for him. This is the one thing that has people worried, as Hangar 13 is clearly using Lincoln's character model from Mafia 3 with this game, which Lincoln was a trained soldier, hence Tommy acting and moving like one. For now, I think if Hangar 13 could concentrate on this one little flaw, this project could be a work of art. From all the new screenshots and gameplay tidbits released, the 1930s world of Mafia 1 remake looked like something I can get lost in for hours. Just wandering around, seeing the different civilians, vehicles, and hearing the music of the time is all I need. Talking about the game's world, the developers have talked about brand new details from it. First off, there has been some concern among existing fans that the remake might be adopting the open world formula of something like Mafia 3, but director Aidan Blackman reassured fans this is totally not the case. When asked whether there was a temptation to add new open world elements to the remake, Blackman replies, "Honestly, not really. We wanted to keep true to the spirit of the original, which is this kind of linear, mission-based, narrative-driven experience. That's really what we've stuck to. But with that said though, there are some opportunities for exploration. The developers didn't want just to reproduce the city block by block. They knew that the city had to be fun to drive around, and they knew that the city needed to have plenty of landmarks, and again, they knew that we wanted to have vistas and points of interest. So all the districts are there, and all the locations are kind of still relative to one another, but they have expanded it much more by adding clearer line of sights and made the streets wider, so they're more fun to drive around. There's also more of a sense of elevation. In other words, this is still the Mafia that you may remember. It's just rebuilt and made better with the capabilities of today's gaming consoles. Blackman adds, "We treat the city as a character in its own right for all the Mafia games, but it really does serve as a kind of a backdrop to these missions. So it's more accurate to the original in that way, but I think for the fans who know the franchise, there's going to be many references in the narrative itself that they'll be able to point to." So as he said, there won't be many side quests in the world itself, as just like the original, the world is there for the story, for the immersion. Having a game taking place in the 1930s is already a pretty unique setting that I haven't really seen in a popular game before, and with the release of the Mafia 1 remake, I hope it'll pave way for developers to at least think of doing something in this era. It is just full of potential for Mafia and criminal related games. The story, as seen in the trailer for the Mafia remake, brings the player through the life of Tommy Angelo as he rises in the Mafia scene. During a certain sequence of events, the player must race in a tough sequence, driving a vehicle that isn't particularly easy to drive. In Mafia Definitive Edition, the popular sequence has been confirmed to return. Being a remake developer, Hangar 13 is keen on replicating the feeling of the original, including the feeling of that particular sequence. This section of the game will be difficult, and it stays because the studio thinks it is a part of the charm of the original. Veteran players who have played the original would say otherwise to that though, having a lot of rage from this scene alone, but I'm hopeful they can do it justice. Despite the intention, the voice actor for Tommy has been recast for the Mafia remake. One positive change is that Mafia Definitive Edition will be using the modern controls from Mafia 3, so the difficulty may be more focused on skills rather than fighting the controls like it was in the original. And also an easy mode will be made available for those interested, though they have also kept the classic mode of the original. Classic mode has all the settings dialed into what the experience was like if you've played the original, so that's great for the hardcore fans to experience the game at that level with the same driving controls and the police in the open world reacting to your infractions the same way as before. I'm definitely gonna use this setting. And then we go all the way to experience the story, you can dial all that stuff back. Alright guys, if you'd like to see more Mafia 1 Remake gameplay on the channel as soon as possible, make sure you drop a like on this video and of course subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks to Pedro Oliveira and Jiggly Boy for being a master member on the channel. You can become a survivor member for 99 cents only. It'll support me and the channel as a whole. Thanks for watching.